Is there anything on item 1 with the corrections to the meeting notes from last month? I looked at them. I had no problem with them. Does anybody have any heart beef or beef with them? Okay, silence is consent. I love it. With y'all's permission, what I would like to do is we have our good friends Charlie and Brian here from GBRA to give us an update on water secure. I would like to jump them forward in the agenda because we have some weighty issues to talk about down in our business items, budget, and other things. So if you guys are good with that, I would certainly like to invite Charlie and Brian to give us an update. Y'all good? Okay, everyone's good. You guys want to go? That sounds great. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, sir.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks for having us. Brian Perkins with GBRA, Charlie Hickman is here as well. We have coming to the end of our feasibility study for Water Secure. I think we came here last summer, I think, and gave you guys an update on Water Secure. We've been working with your staffs, I guess, about that as well, and presented this to multiple utilities over the last couple months. Essentially, we took the information after we did well, let's just move on. Next slide. So I guess this all started about 2 years ago when the Water Development Board published the draft populations, and we saw that top line there differing from the previous projections. All those dashed lines are projections from their various regional plans. This is just the upper 5 counties of GBRA, one from Kendall, Hayes, Comal, Guadalupe, and Caldwell counties. And the black line there being the actual population growth. And so this was kind of a shock to us. We started having some informal discussions with utilities in the area, and we can go to the next slide there. In the fall, and that was enough reason for us to. There was enough interest in a regional project and enough reasons for us to go ahead and use some reserve funds to hire Black & Veatch to do a feasibility study. And so for the last year and a half or so, we've been working with Black & Veatch on that, and we've had multiple touch points. I'm not going to enumerate those all, but we've had multiple touch points with various utilities in the region, with Kerry and his predecessors as well, talking about the project, gathering information, and really, a lot of that information sharing was, us talking some very initial concepts, gathering some information about where water would be needed, how much water would be needed, when it would be needed, and whatnot, compiling it together amongst the 20 different utilities, working out some preliminary concepts and cost, presenting that, and then asking those kind of same questions again, or if you're still interested, given where the project's kind of going and whatnot, and then solidifying what the project really is. We had done enough work with Black & Veatch and as well as with HDR. HDR was working on the hydrology and hydrogeology side of things, helping us with the yield analysis, if you will, from what we could get from the river and store in the off-channel reservoir, but also how the ASR would work, the aquifer storage and recovery, as part of the project. And so between the two of them, we have assessed the risk and compiled all the components of the project and cost. And really, that's really what I'll probably talk about today. And that's what we've been presenting to various utilities since April. So let's go ahead and scroll up there. Fundamentally, the project is the same. It's still, the basis of it is still those two projects that were in the previous regional plan combined together. So lower basin diversion works and off-channel storage, mid-basin diversion, aquifer storage and recovery. The difference being put in together through kind of a risk analysis that we did with both consultant firms and internally, and a lot of discussions about water supply. I'd say three things mainly changed. One, the off-channel reservoir got larger. The time to fill, the implementation period of the aquifer storage and recovery got drawn out a little further. And then we realigned the pipeline to better suit the schedule so that we could use some existing easements that allow for a second pipeline. That eliminates a lot of risk in terms of, as you probably know, anyone who's gone out and tried to get right away or easements lately, it can be a long, arduous process and can be very expensive. So utilizing existing easements was one way to try to mitigate some of that. So what that means is, from a contractual standpoint, we've got a 90 million gallon day project that we're trying to develop here. Could be as many as 20 or 25 utilities. And the way it would work is that we would launch design in 2026, plan to have construction done by 2033, 2034 on all elements. Fill the off-channel reservoir, which should take 5 to 12 months, and that allows 60 of that 90 MGD of water to be available. The other 30 MGD available becomes once the aquifer storage and recovery. We can have all that infrastructure built by 2033, 2034, but it's probably going to take another 5 to 8 years, depending on, are we in drought? Are we in average conditions, whatnot, to fill that aquifer storage and recovery. Once that's filled, roughly the 2040 timeline, the other 30 MGD. So I'm going to use round numbers here. Let's say Canyon Regional chose to participate at 12 MGD. At 12 MGD, the first 8 MGD would be available once that off-channel reservoir in the lower basin is filled. The other 4 MGD would be available once the ASR is filled in the mid-basin. So we can go on to the next slide there. Just to zoom into the lower basin here, this is the map that we've shared, folks. This shows where our lower basin water rights are. They're on the river with the new raw water intake pump station, moves water over to an off-channel reservoir. That off-channel reservoir I mentioned got bigger, it essentially doubled in size. 120,000 acre feet of off-channel storage. The entire project, I should have mentioned this earlier, is based on existing surface water rights that TCEQ has already granted GBRA, whether that's our older, more senior rights in the lower basin or our more junior mid-basin water right. The storage components, the ability to use the water anywhere in our basin, all that is already authorized by TCEQ. There's no state permitting that's necessary from TCEQ standpoint. Within this, you have some local infrastructure there to meet some existing and future demands in the lower basin from a raw water perspective. And then you have a pipeline that would move water into the upper basin. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So that pipeline continues up, ties in with the mid-basin permit. That's with the junior water right. Those two come together at a treatment facility there. Facility houses some balancing storage, 150 MGD water treatment plant, as well as all the aquifer storage and recovery wells and the land to control the water that we put into the ground. From there, treated water leaves the plant and either gets injected into the ground or goes to meet customer needs in the upper mid basin. That's the blue lines. And again, the pipelines from, essentially where the Alliance GBRA well fields are, all the way over to NBU and up to Mustang Ridge, those easements are already within GBRA's control or soon will be. So that kind of eliminates the need to go out and get additional easement for about 25% of this pipeline route. In total, there's about 150 miles of treated pipeline, another 100 miles of raw water pipeline, so somewhere around 250 miles of pipeline here. Yep. Yes. That's just for context here. That's our regional raw water pump station over here and pipeline that moves water, San Marcos Water Treatment Plant, and then the dash blue line is the one that takes that treated water from the San Marcos Water Treatment Plant up to Kyle, Buda, Sunfield, etc. So also the dash blue line coming down from Locker to Lewing's another existing pipeline that we have. Actually moves water from the Luling Water Treatment Plant up to Lockhart as well. So just kind of showing how this project in the future, if things change, there may be an ability to move water around in different ways too. So let's go ahead and scroll up some more. Just putting things in context in terms of capital cost per acre foot. So this is not a finance cost. This is strictly just raw capital cost of the project, construction cost. Upgrade, raised up to $2024, then divided by the supply of the project on the right-hand side there. These are some previous projects GBRA has been involved in. Of course, the one I just mentioned, San Marcos Water Treatment expansion and the I-35 pipeline, Western Canyon system. Both those were around the same time. The difference there being the raw water line was already in place at the time in 2004, 2005, when we did this project. And the plant was already there. We expanded the San Marcos plant and we added the I-35 pipeline. Western Canyon was a brand new system. And of course, the CRWA project and our expansion of that project that we're working through right now. You can see how cost has gone up over time. Of course, that makes sense. But also something to consider here is pipeline lengths. That first project there listed, we added about 20 miles of pipeline, 25 miles of pipeline. Western Canyon was somewhere around 45 miles of pipeline. Collectively, the CRWA project's gonna be something like 80 miles of pipeline. The Water Secure program is probably gonna be closer to 250 miles of pipeline. At the end of the day, pipeline is gonna drive a lot of the costs. So you've got the easements, you've got everything you had to do for that. So let's scroll up. So where we landed with the water secure in that configuration I showed you earlier, about $5.9 billion of infrastructure, coming into a capital cost around $63 per acre foot, $63,000 per acre foot. I know, I know. This is, again, just raw kind of capital costs. The next slide actually does show some financing there as well, financing options that we've evaluated with our, can we scroll up? With our financial advisors and bond counsel. I'm happy to report that the bill that CRWA was pushing to allow SWIFT to go from 30 years to 40 years for certain project configurations did pass both houses, Senate, and got signed by the governor. So September 1st, that becomes law that SWIFT can now be used at 40-year increment period. So that helps some with deferring some of those early payments, especially when you're in an 8 to 10-year construction period. Allows you to not necessarily put rates on your existing customer base, allows some of the future customer base to do that. And then the structures here, the blue and the green, are kind of two different ways the debt may be structured. Both have the ability to amortize some of those early interest payments and whatnot, again, during that design and construction phase. The blue would be amortizing all of it till 2035 and then starting your payments in 2035. The green would be amortizing most of it or a portion of it and then slowly growing into a rate between 2028 and 2035. So you can you could structure your debt and structure the rates such that it's not an immediate impact right away and not necessarily an immediate impact out in 2035 as well either. So it's going to go. So where we are is we presented this program to all the utilities we've been discussing with, and we've drafted up an MOU for them to take to their governing bodies, whether that's a city council or a board of directors or whatnot. And, a lot of the conversation we've had has been very much at the staff level. So this allows the MOUs, while they're not binding, allows the MOUs to be elevated to the governing body and have at least a commitment of interest in participating in the project at a certain volume of water. I believe I sent an MOU to Kerry and his staff to take a look. A number of other entities already signed those MOUs and sent them back. We'd like to execute those in the June-July timeframe, obviously by the end of July. And then August, we would look to get a draft contract out, actually, a water supply agreement. That's really the binding thing, is that water supply agreement. Get those water supply agreements out end of August and try to have those executed in the first part of next year. The MOUs also allow us, in addition to having kind of a public and a more formal commitment, it allows us to stack up where we are versus that 90 million gallons a day. And it also gives us some confidence to go out and procure a program manager. Again, using some reserve funds and going to our board and saying, we need to get if we're going to deliver on time, we need to get a program manager on board this fall so we can do some of the early work and really launch design in 2026. And with that, once those water supply agreements are fairly well negotiated and close to execution, we could also go after the SWIFT funding and any other funding sources that are necessary for the project at that time. So lot to do in the next, lot to do in the next 8 to 10 years, but really a lot to do in the next 6 to 12 months as well to try to just get this kicked off. So that's a big overview. I'll mention one other fact that Charlie likes to mention too is if you look at that graphic at the beginning, it's going to take 4 new canyons to meet those demands by 2080. This program is roughly the size of a canyon. When you look at the storage involved at both the ASR and off-channel reservoir, when you put those combined storage, it's really almost the storage we have in Canyon Reservoir. And it yields about the same amount as well, 90,000 acre feet versus 100,000 acre feet. So this is just one step in the grand picture. There's obviously other water supplies that need to be developed. And we, as I mentioned, these are existing water rights CRWA has, and this is actually the last of the ones that we have in place right now. So beyond this, there's other projects that have to be done by others, by us, by Alliance, by Canyon Regional, to try to meet the demands of this basin. So with that, I'll stop and answer any questions or?
Let's go back to the first slide, or second slide, the first page. I think the scary thing here is, that number, that projection,
Yeah.
that 3.7 million, that's actually just in the regional plan. We know that's not even correct, right? We know that line is actually even further, and we've underplanned on those population projections, which is by no fault of our own. But state of Texas has to give us better numbers. That's the scariest thing here is even looking at this, that line still needs to be shifted further over.
Yeah, and that's the context of that black line there versus those previous plans. That black line is above. I know it's hard to see at this scale, but that black line is above all those previous dashed lines. And this new dashed line, the upper one, the green one there that shows 3.7 million people by 2080. If that trend continues, you're right. The black line is going to continue to be above that green line. So it's a daunting task.
Brian, you mentioned a number of 18 MGD. I mean, a 12 MGD for.
I just use an example.
Okay.
There's no context for that.
Okay. I was just, because we had our last, discussion, we were still
talked about 20, I think.
Talking
right?
about 20. Yeah. And, that may change, with, pending further discussion with my member entities, but.
I picked 12 because I can do math on 2/3, 1/3 easier than on 20, I guess. I don't know. I could have picked 18 or 21.
I think one of the questions I asked probably at a board of trustees meeting is, are you intending for this water to stay in basin?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
The participants that we are, yes, most of the participants we've been engaged with are existing customers already, and most of those the return flows would end up back in the basin. And those that we're talking to that are outside of the Guadalupe discharge to the Cibolo, which ends up potentially in the San Antonio, which ends up down at where our lower basin water rights are. So that does all kind of come back together as well. So yeah, given that upper dashed line, we're looking to, let's develop water in basin and meet the in basin needs first before we entertain out of basin needs. And it doesn't, long term, it doesn't behoove any of us to have water shipped to Colorado Basin or to the Nueces Basin or something.
Well,
So
that would require a rules change for you guys anyway, right? Don't you have a rule about out of basin?
it's a little tricky. Yeah. Central district. Yeah. Yeah.
Which they're pretty close.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But Hayes County is a good example.
And also, I guess we would have to find a district lead not being met for us that are serving.
Sure. Got it.
Hayes County is a great example, but half of it is in our basin, half of it's in the other basin, but it's all within our district.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Just wondering. Anybody else have any questions for them?
So I just, I also asked Brian and Charlie to come to the Board of Trustees meeting next week, give the same presentation. I just wanted them to come to the Board of Managers so this board could, consider whether or not you want to make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. And then, I'll be asking for an action on whether or not to execute an MOU at the Board of Trustees meeting next week.
Well, I mean, I think that's $1 million question, right? It's like where do we stand as a CRWA on this? I know where I stand in my other job on it, right? And I think we have others that stand in different places on it. But I don't know that the question has been debated and discussed whether or not CRWA is a body. That's what we're trying to drive toward, right? Is CRWA as an entity is going to sign on to the program? I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm willing to discuss, what folks' thoughts are on that. If anyone has any thoughts on, I guess basically the question is, should CRWA participate in water secure? That's the question on the table.
Yeah, if the member entities have a need, definitely. I'm out of basin. So
Yeah.
it eliminates East Central. But if there's others who can benefit from it, then of course. But I think there are others who may be individually working directly with GBRA. So
There is, and so that's the question. Mike, you got any thoughts on?
I was just going to say, I don't see any harm in going forward with the MOU because it does not obligate CRWA in any way, shape, or form, but it gives these two gentlemen some guidance as, how big is the swimming pool? How large is our swim lane that you're needing to fill? So that was bad analogy, sorry.
I mean,
Yeah, I got it. I mean, going to Brandon's comment, correct, Brandon. Other entities are meeting with GBRA about this, but I think the reality of the situation is certainly an MOU doesn't hurt anybody. But the reality is, I think Canyon Regional asked for 23,000 acre feet from this project, if I remember. Maybe it's changed. So I think, to help our partner GBRA, we need to be true. Are we in it or are we not in it? So the GBRA can do due diligence and try to market that water somewhere else. It's not real friendly for us to say we're going to do it, and at the end, we're not going to do it. So certainly would like to have a conversation. GBRA can be here, they cannot be here. I really don't. But I think for us to really understand this, we need to line up our projects as to what Canyon Regional has. And if this is a viable project, then you move on with an MOU. If this is not viable for Canyon Regional, then you need to let it go and say, you know what, GBRA, we're not doing this. Because again, it's not friendly to our partner who's been here, been coming to the meetings and, trying to help us meet our needs. And you're correct, we're never going to meet that need, right? It's all about affordability and closeness and all this other stuff. So as a partner, I would say, we cannot be stringing GBRA along, and we should not. For the simple sake that it's not going to help them.
I echo that sentiment exactly. And I know that's not really what Mike meant here, but we need to firm up who's interested. Now, if we have people who are still looking at it, if Green Valley's still saying, yes, we're still looking at this, then by all means, Canyon Regional should move that forward. But if we reach out to our member entities and they say, no, we're working directly with GBRA, or no, we're out of basin, so we're out, we need to have that answer for them, because they reduced this project. If I remember correctly, you didn't reduce the project, but people asked for more water than you had available. And so we don't want to keep tying up that extra water that could go to someone else who may need it or want it.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, well, from my perspective, we've already signed an agreement. I mean, Green Valley is already in directly with GRA, right? And so the question is, from my perspective, and for this body, I don't know why we would go twice for exactly what you said. If all members are not in basin and can't, benefit equally, in a way that we could share cost and do that sort of thing, I'm not sure this body should do it. And because I know, like, for me personally, it makes a lot more sense to do something directly and be a little bit more diversified and not affect people that don't need to be affected because they can't help them. It would be a better move for us to not involve Canyon Regional in it, because it's not helping Canyon Regional writ large. I guess we could, we could tie ourselves in a pretzel, right? And we could do stuff internally to replace the water that you can't use by doing something else. But that would be a major untangling of the ball of yarn to do that. What I mean is, like, we could agree internally to the water I have here that's not having to do with them or Wells Ranch or whatever, could go to you. We could do that internally as CRWA, but I'm not sure we can get there easily enough because of all the
It's already such a challenge now, managing that. To add to it just doesn't make a ton of sense. But if you've got someone else who may be smaller and doesn't have, maybe just doesn't quite have the staff that you have,
sure,
but needs this additional water and would like Canyon Regional to manage it, even though it would be a little more expensive for them because of the admin costs, then by all means, we should help them that way. But we need to figure that out very, very quickly. And so you're going to need to have those discussions with these member entities, find out who's on board with this, because I think a lot of these people are working directly with GBRA already, and they're not going to double up.
That's right. Doubling up would make any sense. But maybe we do this, and I think you're exactly right. We have literally got to do a roll call, like, are you in or out, and maybe that would be something that staff should do. Should just go straight down and, like, okay, Green Valley in and out. Green Valley, no, we're out, right? East Central, are you in or out, whatever. And you compile that. Maybe we present that to the trustees, like, in accordance with, we did polling. Here's all the entities. This is everyone's answer. Trustees, where you at? Maybe that's the way to do it. But I 100% agree with Humberto. It is not good business to be like, oh yeah, maybe, whatever. So I agree.
Yeah, and I will add, we are in it. We signed an MOU last month, I guess, with GBRA. But one of the constraints that we have when we went with GBRA was the fact that it was being reduced, our initial allotment. So as we speak about Canyon Regional holding on to 23, whatever, it's reducing what we can best possibly take. So again, it behooves us as Canyon Regional to to determine from Canyon Region's perspective, are we in or out?
Mhm.
You know, we're in it on our end. We'll
Yeah,
take care of
we
our
are too.
needs. We don't need Canyon Region to do that. We'd like Canyon Region to make, determine whether they're in or out, certainly for that extra water that will allow me to get on that end. Because it allows again for others to use that water.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how, what was the thought process? Maybe Brian or maybe Carrie can tell me, was it going to be raw water coming to Canyon Region or was it going to be treated water?
I think it's probably just done.
So, yeah, we initially looked at kind of both, but ultimately landed on treated, yes.
Because I remember like when we were going through this with Brian and stuff, I mean, GBRA asked for our requirement and whether we wanted raw or treated. And I said, treated, right? I mean, so, and so that's what y'all studied was deliver and treat it, right? Because, yeah. Anyway, okay, why don't we do that? Why don't we say, okay, hey, staff, why don't we poll the entities and let's get a good reading and let's put a due date on it, right? I mean, I think one of the things that you guys would probably appreciate is like, like a timeline. Because I know I pushed you guys for a timeline too, right? So it's only fair, right, for us to put ourselves on a timeline too. So maybe think you discuss it at this trustee meeting and then get an answer or something.
Yeah, I don't think it takes that long to find out, hey, what are you interested in? Are you interested? What are you interested in so that we can give the right information to GBRA?
Yeah.
I can make phone calls this week.
Yeah,
and
I
get
mean,
feedback.
Okay.
East Central is out of basin, so that's an easy answer for us.
Okay.
So we're out. We can get the others pretty quickly. Giving us an answer so we can give GBRA answer. Now, Brian, if we've got, let's say it's 12,000, I don't remember what it is, but if it's 20,000, 12,000, whatever, can we allocate that to someone else? Are you going to say, no, you give us that back and we allocate it to who we want?
So I think at this stage, the MOU, and Umberto's right, we kind of want a realistic number. It's not set in stone.
Sure.
I mean, we don't want to drastically change it. I think ultimately when the contract is signed, if Canyon Regional chose 20,000 acre feet,
Yeah.
they'd be on the hook for that. I don't know if we have language in there that would allow reallocation after that.
I mean, before that
Before
even
that.
happens. Right now, y'all are saying we're developing 90 MGD at some point, right? 60 at first. We're holding that we're going to develop 20 for Canyon Regional. Before we even get to the MOU, if we say, no, we only want 10, can we say county line, you have that other 10? Or do y'all want to be able to just reallocate it to everyone?
Up until we sign the water supply agreements, which would be late this year, early next year, we can still shift
Okay.
that around. That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone backs out, okay, instead of 6, I want 8. Right. If you guys can do it, y'all do it. We sign our agreement, we become customers and we're good. It's pretty simple to me. Okay. That's what we'll do then. We'll, Carrie will do a polling and we'll turn it in. And when we get to the board trustees on Monday, I'll simply say, hey, the group discussed it. We said the best way forward is to polling and Carrie will report on it when he reports on it and trustees can make a decision. Y'all good with that? Okay. We got consensus. Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys. Y'all can run like heck if you would
Yeah.
like, or you can hang out.
Thank y'all for your work in the region. I think it's really important. I think you hit on something really important, that this is just one of multiple projects. We're all going to have to work together. It's kind of nice that it's not a competition at this point. It's all hands on deck, try
That's right.
and solve it. And thank y'all for testifying and, having y'all go up there and talk about moving that from 30 to 40 years, which could have gotten up to maybe 50 years, but
Right, yeah.
we'll take 40. Appreciate that effort. Thank you.
We appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you, and we will see you on Monday evening, I guess. So
Yeah.
Thank
Are
you
you
very
coming
much.
Monday evening too?
what's that?
You just love us. You'll see us again on Monday.
That's right.
We're
Thank
such a happy, shiny group.
you. I love y'all.
Good to see you guys.
We'll even feed you if you come back Monday. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Hey, we're going to blister through a little bit because I think, Carrie really would like us to talk about the budget that we had the budget meeting yesterday. And then, so if we could, Adam, if you could just hit highlights for under agenda item 2, just anything we need to know, just very wave top. And then we can get on down to business as quickly as possible. If Adam's even in here. Is Adam here?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, boom, there you
I'm
are.
hiding in the corner.
You're normally over here, man. So anyway, you have
Yeah.
the wave tops for us.
I just updated the drought report presentation just to give a little information on, the flood up in Kerrville, just really quick, and then I'll end with this because you can see the rest of the information that I've given. is that the weather station that I usually get my information from on precipitation above Canyon Lake,
It washed out.
it was wiped away. It's in Hunt, and you can kind of see a record of it in the presentation that I have on. It just disappeared. So I'm not for sure if it's gone or what, but pretty significant event. Did not really impact us a whole lot here at Lake Dunlap. We did have that weekend about 3 to 4 inches of rain in the above us here, and it has created higher turbidities in our water, so that our operators are having to make some adjustments to do that, but nothing major.
Okay. I guess the $100 question is, and we should ask GBRA while they're here. So 30 days above 880 will get us out of the stage we're in with the mandatory 15% curtailment?
That's correct. And I just put the level in this morning.
889.
889.6. I mean, it's right at almost 890. And so if it does get into that 890 range, it'll have to stay 30 days in there before they actually rescind stage 4.
Well, we can get 880.
Yeah.
880
Yeah, they're going
will
to
take you to
definitely
890 would get us to stage 2.
stage 2. That's correct.
Gotta tell you, like us to talk about, I think the optics are very bad given the flood. It's gotta stay.
Yeah.
I think we just.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be wait. We don't need to wait 20 more days.
Yeah.
Personally.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with that. It's like one of those hard things, right? You just want to be like, oh, it rained, you know, and this tragic situation happened, and we're like tap dancing, jumping up and down. But I mean, it does seem like it may break the 4-year drought that we've kind of been in. I don't know. It's a tough one to deal with. But
Yeah.
it's probably a question that CRWA should probably ask GBRA, right? Because we have a 6.7% reduction across the board here. If we could get relief for that from people that need relief from that, would be good. I'm kind of with Mike though. I don't know how much I want to advertise it though. You know?
Yeah. But I mean, one of the amendments in here would be is short-term water leases from us.
Yeah,
We might not need to do that.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking revenue out of my pocket.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the good of the group. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. I don't think we need to do anything. I think you guys just need to stay in, concert with GBRA on that. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mike's exactly right. The short-term water leases, is it a thing anymore? I mean, is the staff still pursuing it? Do we still need to do it?
Well, we were still intending to pursue it, but at this point, we may not need to pursue it to that rain event.
Yeah. I mean, because I guess the other thing is, we don't have enough data yet, but I suspect my usage is going down. Right? It's going down, which means,
Put water in.
yeah. I mean, that's what folks are going to do.
Yeah.
So does that mean, is everyone still going to be able to get by with their 6%? I don't know. It's like, it's too soon to check. I don't know. I think we hold what we got and then wait till next month's data or something.
Yeah, so my comments are, it doesn't help us for Mike to have uncertainty of, he has water, just like everybody else, we want to market that water.
Mhm.
So I think we need to make a policy decision or something. If we're going to do short-term leases when drought happens, it happens. If we know, we can't be playing with these water. If Mike has some water, he's willing to put on the table. We as Canyon Regional, we know we're going through a drought, we secure that water. Mike gets his money, we get the water sits there.
It's
Right.
like,
Because it doesn't help anybody.
Mhm.
Because when we really need it, it's because we're playing a crying wolf. It's not going to be there. So we need to have this practice where whomever is willing to give up water for a drought, that we come together and say, we understand it's a drought situation. We need to go and enter into a lease with that entity. And it is what it is. We can get out of drought. We cannot get out of drought because that's what we do now. That's what I do with leases with whomever. It is what it is, and I pay it. So it's not fair to Mike, who has water, not fair to you.
Mhm.
So we need to get better at this, because again, when we need it, it will not be there, because we're going to say, I've been holding it. Canyon Regional never came to me. I'm selling it, marketing it to somebody else.
I agree 100%. I think we talked about it earlier with GBRA, right? About being good neighbors. Well, it's not good saying, I need what you have, I need what you have. Oh, wait, no, I don't.
Yeah.
You just keep paying for it and we'll let you know if we need it. If y'all don't need it, and we can do this on a year-to-year basis, because we could have 3 well failures tomorrow and need it anyways.
And not have, well, I agree too. You think it for those terms, it's like, okay, finish the leases, whether or not we execute them this year, then we could do it next year. We got to have a mechanism that doesn't take 3 months, right? When we get into a crisis, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it'd be
I agree.
I think the lease would be back to Mike, and Mike has control of it. Okay, it's not a drop. Can I get it back so I can lease it to somebody else? Or can I get back to have a situation where I have growth, need it back?
Need it back.
There's actually 3 of us with water in that category.
And now that I've seen these new rates and new finances that GBRA has,
Well, that's a good point. I mean, okay, we would like staff to go ahead and pursue getting the leases done, right? But are you guys saying that we go ahead and execute them?
I don't know if we need to get the leases done, because I mean, again, you bring up a valid point. We're not of a drought. We need to have thought about this before. How do we do this, right?
Right.
So we need to monitor it. If we see we're still in a drought, I don't know.
I think you do it now.
We can do it now. I have no problem with doing it now.
I think we're 70% of the way down. I mean, Chelsea and them are 70% of the way down having a contract to us.
We're not talking about millions of dollars here.
No.
We're
Yeah.
talking
Well,
about,
we could.
Well, I mean, it does go up though, because I think that the figure we're talking about is a raw water price, $184 per acre foot, which is set by GBRA. It is GBRA. Is it fiscal year though, Mike, or did they just go all the way up? They did go to 193, but I don't know when that price changes. But anyway,
Fiscal year runs from September through August.
okay.
So like Canyon Regional's rate will now change in September, not October, different than ours.
Yes.
Chelsea, do you have something to add?
Yeah, Chelsea, I saw her waving.
Just, I know it was like,
Chelsea.
just some additional information that's relevant to this discussion. We actually do have, I would say, 95% completed contracts that have been developed. They might even be fully complete. We haven't circulated them yet because in doing additional research about who owns the water right and looking at details of the contracts between one of the members who's offered water and GBRA, it raised questions about the diversion point. Who can approve the move of a diversion point? Is that GBRA? Is that Special Water Masters? And so all that is to say, I feel that we've worked through and I've gotten most of the information and clarity that I need to be useful in helping to move this forward. And we do have a draft contract, but there were just some lingering things that I think need to be shared with the members who have offered up water to help them make decisions about the amount of effort to get this done. All that said, even if we don't execute right away, or if we do decide to push for this now, I think the information that we have, the template agreement, all of the clarity we've gotten from the water master and so on will be useful in developing the kind of policy that was recommended. So whether we do it now or we build the framework for it in future, I do think we've made a lot of progress, and hopefully in the very near future, we'll be having some follow-up meetings with the 2 members who have made water available if we want that water.
Yeah.
I would touch on something else. Certainly I'm more concerned with Hayes Caldwell, so we have Martindale with water. But something else that's going to play into this is the conversation we have with GBRA and the Habitat Conservation Plan, right? At some point, they're wanting some water to be left on the table. So it behooves us to start making these deals now. So if, for instance, Mike may have some more water, you may have some more water here that you're willing to, once we go to the Habitat Conservation Plan, that water's already set. And we've long-term leased it from you or whatever it is to help us get over this hump on this end. With my end over there, I don't know how instrumental it's going to be, because I think I saw one of those mussels is endemic to that area. I don't know what the impact is, but I would like for something where I'm not being cut for drought, I'm not being cut for habitat, that I have water somewhere that either member entities brought to the table and they were compensated accordingly, or Canyon Region went out there and sought that water. And I think it's easier if we cut the deals amongst ourselves and we pay ourselves and we move forward with the contingency, the event that Canyon Regional, you could even be budgeted. We know we're having a drought next year. It's a drought contingency plan. Everybody pays on this end, everybody pays on that end, and they pay for the leases. And then at the end, either entity can, opt out and say, you're not using it, it's not a drought, I need it for my development, I need it for my development. And so it can be worked out that way.
I just think it's unfair to ask them to sit on this water and we just say, hey, we may use it in emergency later on. Let's compensate them for it. Let's get the agreements in place. Let's give them the out.
It's no different than we do now
Yeah.
with others.
Yeah, let's give them the out if there's growth or some other, need where they need that water back. But
Yeah.
to me, we don't know. We could not get another drop of rain after this event and be right back here talking about this in 9
Right
months.
back out there.
So it's not fair to let you sit and Mike sit and without compensation if y'all are willing to.
Well, I mean,
Be
it's
able to
not,
walk.
it's not an insignificant amount. I mean, I've got 849 that I can't do anything with. It's all this untreated, that may be able to help. I mean, so it's not insignificant if you pile it up. So kind of what I'm hearing then is let's just go ahead and get the leases through the process. Right? I mean, Chelsea, can we do it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can get it done.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Martindale. I think Martindale.
Yeah. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's crystal clear, Springs Hills, me, and Martindale had some.
Martindale. San Marcos had water too, but I don't know.
Yeah. Is that what you're tracking?
Primarily, I'm tracking for Springs Hill and Green Valley. I think we had conversations with Martindale and one other member, and it turned out that they needed to reserve the water. It didn't make sense. I can go back and find notes or raise it to them
You guys can.
again.
It's no big deal if you can't.
Okay.
So there's,
Okay.
I thought the other entity was Cibolo.
Cibolo.
Yeah.
was it
the other one.
Cibolo?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, okay. It just may just be me and Mike that are in the position to do it. Those others may not be in the position yet because of various reasons.
That was
Yeah.
our
Right. I mean,
understanding.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
there were some operational concerns.
exactly.
They needed
And that's-
padding.
Okay, I'm good with that. All right, any more discussion on that one? Item 3, Adam, any highlights on the treatment plants? I'm trying to get us to the budget here.
Really quick, yeah, it's tracking well with the stage 4 drought restrictions. We're meeting our goals at each facility.
It's going to be further on, but the construction committee under, for treated water, we've got that well 1 at Wells Ranch. That's, a complete failure at this point. Y'all will talk about that later on, but that was a concern on the construction committee side.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tracking that one.
And also, our Hayes Caldwell plant right now, we had a breaker go down that was supposed to have been delivered last week. It has been lost in transit. They're trying to locate it. So right now at Hayes Caldwell, we are operating solely on that rental trailer. Now, David has been in communication with the member entities up there, and their operations folks to make considerations and accommodations to help get us through. But we're tracking that as diligently as we can, or trying to find it. That they lost track of it. What they think happened is that it did not get taken off the trailer at some point en route where it was supposed to, and that's why they can't track it. But hopefully, by the time we get the Board of Trustees meeting, we will have located it and have it on site so that we can get it installed.
Gary, do we have the trailer, that other new trailer we bought? Is it there?
It is there. They're
Okay.
working to get it in service as soon as possible. I know last week they had folks out to weld all the HDPE piping, and so they're working this week to get it in service as quickly as possible. And I'll go ahead and just go into that item. The pilot studies will be in operation shortly thereafter. They're kind of doing a lot of that work simultaneously for the electrical and the piping hookups.
All right. Any questions about that issue? Okay. Item 4, Carrie. You kind of already hit some of this stuff, but
You already hit some of it. The interconnect water line, I have no update on that. There's been no change. I will, I'll skip to items C and D. We did get a revised scope and fee from Garver on those 2 items. The main revision was to separate out the expansion of the membranes away from the membranes that are needed to get up to the 14.4 MGD capacity. So we will be finalizing that scope and fee, and we are looking to schedule a meeting as soon as possible with those member entities to talk about funding strategy for that design and also for the membrane installation. I will ask Bobby to give us an update on item 4B.
Let's see. On the Strainer Improvement Project, we have a tentative notice start date of the 18th. We did have a VFD delay of 45 weeks. However, they've come across some VFDs that they're supplying some mills for that could reduce that lead time to 4 to 5 weeks. So we're waiting on to see how compatible they are.
That's 4 to 5 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes.
Okay.
Yes. 45 weeks. Almost a year. Yeah. So, that was kind of the discussion when we first started doing this about holding off on a start date, because just have dead time. But yesterday they supplied some submittals and we're going through it to see if these will work. They're a Siemens product. So I'm going to go back there and meet with Joe and go over that with him after this meeting. And I'll just go ahead and carry on if y'all don't mind. On the membrane project, Terry touched on that. The emergency generator project, they will be getting started on Thursday. We'll be meeting out there tomorrow just to go over some safety training, getting going on that. That will go on for a while. There's going to be some dead time waiting on VFDs as well, but they are able to get their work done, have a pause, and then come back and finish it up. Once those come in, there'll be no delay on that. DNT tanked that project. Hayes Caldwell Phase 1. We have settled up the duct bank issue and the fence issue. They're proceeding to, hopefully have that done here in the next couple of weeks. That blends into Phase 2, which will be having a meeting on Friday on site to review scope on what has been taken out and possible start dates then, to get that Phase 2 tied in as soon as Phase 1 gets complete. As far as the well upgrade project, that one has an issue with the ATSs. Those won't be delivered till 9:30. They have done as much work as they can, so they're waiting to get that in before they can proceed. And that's where we're at right now.
Okay. I got it. You guys have any questions about that stuff? So I take it it's proceeding. It is what it is. Okay. If y'all don't mind, let's do this. Let's jump into we're going to go all the way down to the budget, right? I mean, because we do have to get that looked at as a board of managers, and then we can come back and talk Wells Ranch 3 if you'd like, Bloomberg, but I think we need to dive into the budget before we spend too much time elsewhere. That's all right. Can we do that?
Certainly.
Fran, can you do whatever you're going to do with the budget slide there? Or Chelsea, whoever's doing it. Adam, who's doing it? Oh, no, Michaela, there you are. Sorry about that.
So I'm going to go through these slides just with the caveat before I start that at the budget committee meeting yesterday, there were some changes to the budget that were discussed that are not going to be reflected in these slides or in the hard copy of the budget that you have today. But we will be making those changes. This is just a draft budget presentation to the board of managers. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Kayla. So right now, as of yesterday, before that meeting, we were looking at a total budget of just under $58 million. And one of the notable items was the increase in the GBA raw water rate of 5% up to $193 per acre foot. After execution of those leases, that reflected the increase of almost 18.6% over last year's budget. It included a repair and replacement budget of almost $11 million, but one of the major items, one of the major changes is going to be a significant reduction in that repair and replacement budget. So that's going to have a big impact on the total budget cost. Also, the current acre feet that are shown there will be revised. That is not an accurate projection of the acre feet. Next slide. So you'll see the 2026 fiscal year number on this chart is going to go down several $1 million, probably, say around 5 million anyway, just as a rough number. So that slope will decrease significantly, and it'll decrease the percent increase for this budget year. I'd go to the next slide, Michaela. Again, these allocations will change, but the significant thing here is that our biggest cost is and always will be plant O&M. That's the lion's share on this pie. Bond payments are also a big cut, as well as the raw water. Those will be the three big ones. Repair and replacement will reduce significantly. Next slide. And again, these growths will all stay the same for the most part, except for repair and replacement, and that will go down very drastically. Next slide. So when I present this to the Board of Trustees, and also next month for final presentation to the Board of Managers, I will have some bulleted slides that gets into more detail about each of the categories and their relative growth. But I'll let Joan go over some of the bullet points on the budget.
But before you do, Joan, I think just where my mind is, right, and just see if everyone's kind of in the same way. So Canyon Regional must produce the draft budget by the 15th of July. That's contractual, right, that we're supposed to be given to the member entities by the 15th. And so that's what we're working on now. So on Monday night, it'll be presented as a first draft to the trustees, and then it won't be voted on and adopted until August, right? And so the intent behind that is to give the member entities ability to see it and get the numbers put into their budgets while they go into budget season, kind of, right? So that's kind of where we are, right? So anyway, budget meeting happened yesterday, right? And several of us were in this room together yesterday. Some really good discussions, and some of the thing that Carrie's talking about, it kind of needs entity, buy-in and our input, to help the budget committee figure this out. So anyway, so that's where I think we are, right? I mean, just for everyone to get them caged where we're at.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Just to really hammer home that this is the Board of Managers' opportunity to make comments on the budget.
That's right.
This isn't our final look at it. Our final look at it will be at our next Board of
That's
Managers
right.
meeting. But this is our opportunity to take a look at it and say, what is this? So we can help explain it to our trustees. But it is just a draft. And unfortunately, the meeting was yesterday. This is a compressed timeline. It's hard. So some of the changes I think that the budget committee recommended couldn't be placed in here in time because
There's not enough time.
yeah, there's not enough time for it.
Yeah. Okay, Joan, go ahead,
Use your mic.
if you don't mind.
Okay, as Carrie said, GBRA raised their rate from 184 to 193 an acre foot. It's a 5% increase. The GBRA rate also affects the Wells Ranch water leases that we have. We pay a percentage of that rate, and then we also have water leases that their rate changes based upon a CPI adjustment that goes into effect in October, and I've taken that into account. One of the things for the raw water is Wells Ranch, and so we have, well, it's not 14.5 acre feet anymore, it's 13,000 and something. The budget's based upon what I've been given in the past that the entities have said that they want. I know that there's, I think, a participation agreement that's supposed to go out, and so whoever wants to participate in Wells Ranch does not want to, and you said that you have in the past, please let me know so I can make this budget where it needs to be and everybody can see what they're going to pay. As far as the bond payments are based on, this is what we have to pay. There's no saying, no, we're not going to, we have to do it. One of the things that I do is at the end of July, after I've made the July payment, I keep in reserves 3 months worth of payments for the next year. And the reason for doing that is if for some reason we don't receive payments from the entities or whatever, hopefully we'll have enough funds to be able to make those payments. At the end of July, there should be about approximately a $3 million balance in those reserved accounts. Does anybody have any questions so far?
So Joan, just to be clear, 3 months is a board policy, right?
No, it's not. It's something
It
that
used to be 6 or 4.
the budget committee came up with it.
Okay.
And it was we used to not have anything in reserve. We upped it to 4, and then the committee requested that it come down to 3.
Okay.
So, so then you go down to operations and maintenance. Just an FYI, the fixed O&M is based upon water supply contracts. It's a take or pay type of deal. The projected sales they increased 1% for total sales of 24,025 acre feet. The variable costs and this is where I charge rate per 1,000 gallons, went up 3%. And basically that's for chemicals and utilities. Those will go up and down based on usage. So just because there's a number in here, which is based on the projected sales, doesn't mean that that's what Canyon Regional will bill. It's based on the actual water delivered per 1,000 gallons. So our insurance, I did just last week get our new rates for everything. Real and personal property includes a rate increase of 12%. This includes a 5% inflation factor. So every asset that we have is increased in value by 5%. So, and that also means we do have replacement coverage so that when something happens to, it may not be what we paid for it 10 years ago, it's what the value is today. Auto liability increased 17% and auto physical damage increased 10%. There were no changes in our workers' comp rates.
Hey, John, I didn't ask this yesterday, but I was curious, like on the, what I found at Green Valley, right? So I just use myself as an example, is that we were over-insured. Like we were over-insured to the point where we were paying a lot of money in premiums with deductibles ridiculously low when we're sitting on cash on hand that we can afford higher deductibles and therefore pay lower, premiums. And we were like way over-insured. So is the increases in, like, what are the deductibles we have on our vehicles, for instance, right? I mean, I saved $35,000 a year in one thing by going from, a $500 deductible to a $2,000 deductible, which Green Valley can afford, right? And it was 35 grand. I used that 35 grand to pay for, my health insurance benefit for my employees, right? I mean, just for example, among other things. Is there any way to lower the insurance? Do you think we're over-insured? I guess is the question. Because I found that we were, and I'm not saying we are here, but I found that Green Valley was over-insured.
I don't think that we're over-insured just because of the value of the asset. I know that when we went through the whole winter storm and everything, what they paid us versus what it costs to repair, they were pretty close to each other. And also too, our asset listing, it doesn't break out every item as far as, I don't know how to describe this, like inside the plant.
Yeah.
It doesn't list each unless it's a huge item.
Yeah.
The smaller items, I know we had, I don't know how many different, maybe pumps, motors, whatever the case may be, that were a part of this one line item.
Yeah.
So
The replacement value, you may be spending a decent amount of extra money on insurance for replacement value. That may be something you could look at, that you may be able to get your premiums down. If you're sitting on the cash and you can afford to replace it if it is a total failure,
Right.
But that replacement value is just, instead of, you bought a piece of equipment at $70,000, but to replace it now would cost you $130,000. They're just giving you that extra money. May not matter for Canyon Regional, and limited assets. Y'all just may look at that because we took replacement value out a number of years ago and it lowered our premiums a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just an area you can save money. I mean, you just
Well,
got,
I know that this was something that was discussed, when David was still here. And if you do have an asset that, was purchased 15 years ago, a large asset, and are we going to be able to fund it when it does need to be replaced?
that's a question.
I do know that we looked at, and this has been a couple of years ago, we have a $10,000 deductible on real property.
Mhm.
And I think our vehicles and stuff, it's a 500,
Mhm.
whatever. So, and I can look at it.
It's too low.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too low. I mean, I don't know how big your fleet is. I do, because you have the list. I haven't looked, but I mean, it's probably like 8, 10 vehicles. If it's that low, you could save money, right? I mean, and we can afford $2,000, right? Is a deductible, the highest one. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that, I found there's low hanging fruit, right? And I don't want to derail us on the insurance discussion, right? But I'm saying there is low hanging fruit in every budget. And I found it in mine. And one of the areas I found it in was insurance.
Well, we found that out last year with our health insurance. We actually changed policies, which I'm not sure that was really a good thing, except for cost savings to Canyon Regional,
Mhm.
because every one of our employees that has had to use the insurance has had problems with it.
Yeah.
But it ended up saving us over 100,000, I think $120,000 in our premiums.
Well, I mean, and if you do go to an outsourced HR, then generally speaking, you can get better group insurance through that. I mean, I've had that experience with mine. So, I mean, if that's something Canyon Regional is contemplating, then they'll manage your benefits. Anyway, I didn't want to sidetrack. I'm sorry. I spent too much time on that. Okay. I'm sorry. Keep going, Joan.
That's okay. So a personnel cost that includes wages, payroll taxes, employee health benefits, life insurance, long-term disability, short-term disability, and our TCDRS retirement plan and workers' compensation insurance. Our annual personnel costs have an increase of about $582,000 over the prior year budget. This includes a 3% COLA and a 3% merit increase for the employees. Increasing administrative staff from 11 to 14 employees. This is for adding an assistant general manager, a chief financial officer, and a project manager. There's a decrease in the cost of health insurance over the prior year of about 35%. There's included legal fees of $300,000 each in both Wells Ranch and Hayes Caldwell. And this pertains to legal fees that will just pertain to that project. It's not something that Canyon Regional as a whole would have to pay for.
I've got a question, Joan, and this is directed towards Carrie. So Phil, I feel like your analogy, low hanging fruit. 582 to me is low hanging fruit. So 582,000. So Carrie, have you considered, you've mentioned, I think yesterday's meeting for everybody's benefit, that these projects are coming online. Have you considered with these projects, hiring a project manager to the consultant, or maybe just hiring a project manager to manage through a consultant to deal with these projects? Once these projects are done, no need for that project management. We've considered this at County Line. We have 21 projects. And so it behooves us to coordinate that, and kind of like what Alliance does. The member entities who are involved in this project would pay for that through the bonds, whatever, and you get your project management in and out, and then you go to the next project. So have you considered that? And if you did, what would be the ramifications of hiring another project manager? I'm just trying to figure out, because, I have some heartburn with the chief officer, I guess the CFO, which I think yesterday said it could have been a controller, it could have been, whomever that is. Still haven't identified what that is for. And then I also have heartburn with assistant general manager. I'm just trying to figure out, how do you, based on what you said yesterday, can you, or have you considered hiring specifically project management through contractors when these projects are built?
I have considered that. I foresee a need for this additional position for at least the next several years. The projects we're contemplating are not, 1 or 2 year projects. They're going to be several years long. We can revisit that and see, compare the cost of hiring a consultant to provide those services. Typically there's a considerable premium towards having a outside consultant.
Yeah, but
on
those involved in the project is paying for, just like the Alliance. Alliance is not a 1 year project. Alliance has been a 10-year project. And so those entities involved in the Alliance are the ones paying for it. So if there's someone involved in, let's say, lack of a better term, Wells Ranch 3, they'd be the ones paying for it. And they'd get coordinated, organized. I'd like to see something like that before, we consider project management. I hear what you're saying, these projects are not 1 year, and I'm familiar, acutely familiar with that. My projects at County Line are not 1 year projects as well. So, but again, using the Alliance, it makes sense. That way it's borne by those who are participating, those pay, you get SWIFT funding, whatever it is, and they pay it back.
And I just would comment on that. We have that in Cobb Finley, and we still had to have staff find their problems. Cobb Finley was our inspector on that project, and we still had staff. There's a list here from David.
So
Just 1 second. There's a list here with David with like 20 items that they missed or things weren't even in the right spot in that. And I know as a trustee at Canyon Regional, I want our staff, who are the only ones who are going to really truly advocate for us. I want Bobby doing that, and I want these people doing that. That's my only problem with a third party like what. I don't want to call Cobb Finley out, but
That's
they're
where
the
my
ones who we have
apprehension
to.
lies.
And I agree. If I may, I wasn't bring that up, but we're on this thing right here. I just thought, I'd like to see that, because obviously, yes, there needs to be some oversight, right? And there still needs to be oversight, even if you do have a Cobb Finley, because we had that at County Line. You have to have oversight. I'm not saying Alliance has oversight. You just don't let these. I don't know what happened there. That's disturbing, because at the end of the day, it's costing us money. So I'm not saying every situation's like that. There are some good firms that do this. Some high quality firms that do this. And because of that one incident shouldn't tarnish the fact that we shouldn't look at this. I'm saying, have we looked at this? And have we considered this? There are some good firms out there. Don't know what happened there.
I'm going to play the math guy for a minute. As Joan points out, it's $582,000 for all of this extra, the COLA, the merit increase, and the new positions. That's right at 1% of our total budget. And so I think we're swatting a gnat with a big hammer right now. I think there's other things in the budget. Yes, it might be some low-hanging fruit, but there's got to be, if we're going to make a difference in the budget, it ain't going to be here. If we make 582 go to 482.
And my experience precedes my tenure here by years and years. When you hire an outside firm to be your project manager, you never have the level of investment in the quality of the project that you have with somebody who's on staff. And I think that's evidenced at Alliance Regional.
I think
we're having issues with that project.
I did hear. I think at root of this is really a concept, right? The concept is, in my mind, we see costs that are going up and up and up and up, and we don't see offsets, right? And I think or we don't see savings. I think that's the biggest concept and everyone goes, and you're exactly right. Personnel is the easiest thing to attack because personnel is something that is universally understood. We all have employees. We all have that. Sometimes it gets fuzzy and O&M and other things, for people to really get their mind around. So it's easy to attack it, but the concept holds true. One of the concepts that I would like to get after a little bit more is it's very simple. You got to give to get, right? So if we want to do a very large increase in wherever it is, we have to show where we've gained efficiency somewhere else, and sometimes it's just going to go up because the cost of water is going to go up. We got that. Right. But I think there's some efficiency finding that we could do to help explain, the offset, right, or the increase. An example, like if insurance is going up that much, I would like staff, and this is what I require of myself. I would like to explain to my trustees, okay, look here, this is what we did to try to get this down, and I've done my due diligence best that I could do. And it's just going to cost that much money. And here it is. Here's the homework. And I'm not saying y'all don't do that, and I'm not attacking. I'm just saying that's the sorts of arguments that we should be able to make when we're making a $582,000 increase in personnel. I mean,
Yeah, and to some it may be it's dropping the bucket. To me, it's a lot.
of course,
You take this.
it's $500,000. Yeah.
It's not, so I take offense to that.
Yeah.
Any money that's coming out of my utility to pay for this, I got to be
It's a lot of money.
responsible for my customers.
That's right.
So it was just a suggestion. Where you can take it or leave it if you want.
Yeah.
But my thought process was, did you consider that? If you had, great, tell me what you came up with.
Yeah. I
It's
think
a great example of Cobb Finley. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But I do know others do it great. All right. You can point the finger at Alliance, but over here on this utility, a lot of things happen that were wrong too.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I just asked the mayor a question.
And that was the only reason why I brought, because it's not just Cobb Finley, right? We let the engineers do everything before. Everything. And they covered up their own mistakes. We fixed them in next project. I know we had staff that also maybe wasn't doing all their job and paying attention to the projects, but I think now we're at a difference here in Canyon Regional. I think you've got a staff who, obviously, we had a staff member find these problems for it, and that's helpful. I'm not dismissing your idea. I don't care if it's $5,000 in insurance, sorry, Mike, or
Yeah.
500,000, whatever it is. We should be doing our due diligence
It
to make
adds
sure
up.
that we're
Yeah.
doing the right things here.
It adds up.
My concern with the 582,000 is we have 350,000 roughly left over. And so my only suggestion at the budget committee was just look back at that, make sure we're not adding 580 on top of a 350,000 surplus we already have. That may be a lot. I don't think we have $800,000 in salaries we're proposing here.
Yeah.
And so that was my only comment yesterday at the meeting, because we do have about 350,000, and that's a rough number.
Well,
Please don't
that's-
take it home.
That's
in
exactly the
surplus.
thing. So like yesterday, and this is something I'm interested in everyone else's thoughts on this too. Like one of the things that I have a hardest time getting my head around with the Canyon Regional budget, that I think this is a concept, conceptual change that may be helpful to us. When each one of us entities do our budget, the budget is merely a guide for that year. It's a yardstick. It's not an appropriation. The board did not appropriate that money to a second thing. It's not what it is. It's a tool. It's a guide. At the end of the year, if I am efficient, if I said I was going to spend $100,000 on maintenance and I spent $90,000, that $10,000 is in my operating account when I begin the next year. Canyon Regional is different. It's different in that Canyon Regional will collect what they budget, what the trustees approve. They will collect it all year long. If they spend more, they'll move it from somewhere else. But if they spend less, they keep that money, but it's not in our accounts and they didn't spend it, right? So something that I think, and we talked about this yesterday, but I'm having a hard time describing it. Like if you budget, just like you said, $200,000 for personnel, you only spent $150. You start off, we paid it. We paid for all of it, but the labor wasn't spent, because there wasn't a person there to get the pay. It's still here. The money's here. So next year you're starting off with $350,000 in the labor account. That means our increase should not be, 500 on top of 300. It should be the difference. Because that money is here. It's in Canyon Regional. I think that is conceptually one of the hardest problems. I've tried to describe it like choose your own adventure, and I think that's unfair. But I was trying to figure out, because, and this is not an attack. I'm just trying to state where I see the problem. It's choose your own adventure with this budget. You can put whatever figure it is. We have to pay it. At the end of the year, you were right or you were wrong. And the overages stay here and you charge the next year. You take the budget from this, you increase it by 5%, whatever, and here it is. But if you didn't spend all of this, we're paying twice. There has to be it's a budget to actual true up is I think the accounting concept that I would like us to explore.
Yeah, and we actually discussed this with Sherry after the meeting yesterday in further detail. We will be doing that at the end of this fiscal year and identifying those leftover amounts.
I will, yeah, and just for those who weren't here, we talked about going through policies and changing the way we've done things.
It's
I
policy.
like the fact you say you're not attacking staff. I appreciate that. But I will state that, what we've done in the past allowed us to continue to do things. For instance, we had money in reserves. We needed certain things. We paid for certain things out of reserves, right? We had extra money. Baramet brought in $3 million. $3 million stayed there, used it to pay off Hayes Caldwell PUA. So this money doesn't just disappear. This money is used for Canyon Regional's business. So some of this money that we pay for and we scratch and with the budget, start a new budget, is used to pay leases, is used to pay other things, right? So it's not like this money's disappearing. The money is still there. It's been used for Canyon Regional efforts.
Sure.
So as long as we understand that, and if we go through this process of doing this new policy where we scratch, we start, you may not have those reserve funds or whatever it may be, and the need that something arises where you need something drastic, or you have a failure on this line here that grows this Lake Dunlap line that will cost us money that wasn't budgeted. And so Joan and everyone was able to figure out how we're going to fund this, and they took money to do this, right? So let's be aware of that. So
Absolutely. Great point. We don't want to say, okay, we had $1 million left over. Here's everyone's check. Your $1 million goes back to you.
I'm not.
Credit. Yeah. A credit. We may need to reallocate that. We may say, hey, look, this year chemical costs weren't as bad as we thought. We collected $200,000 extra dollars. Let's move that into repair and replacement so we're ready for the next emergency.
Yeah.
Those are smart decisions, but there needs to be a policy. There needs to be some transparency on how we're going to handle that. And there needs to be trustee action saying, we want to commit these funds for next year for a specific thing. But yeah, I don't think they're incongruent. I think they're similar ideas.
And I'm not advocating for giving money back. And I know I've talked to Regina about this before too, and she don't want money back either, right? I mean, so several of us are not saying
I don't like money back.
give money back,
I
right?
don't think it's good for us.
But honestly, what we're saying is it's a more deliberative process, right? So we know what those balances are. And then hand in hand, something that's discussed yesterday that I do support too, is certain categories of funds should have like a limit, right? I mean, there should be like, we want this is the target for emergency funds, right? This is the target for debt reserve, and then we should fund the target. And then we have deliberate decision to make, as trustees to say, okay, we have this surplus funds, right? What are we going to do with them? I mean,
I need to kind of make a little point here.
sure.
And Humberto did talk about that when the HCPUA was started, that was paid for over the years for probably a good 7-8 years. Then the agreement was that the entities that are participating in that, they would pay Canyon Regional back.
Mhm.
If we hadn't had those reserve funds, we wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is a great issue. It really is.
okay, but
It's
there's
a
a lot of
wonderful-
other things.
Yeah.
There are
Wells Ranch 3,
Wells Ranch 3,
The leases,
$1.2 million.
the leases.
the water leases, which the water leases are actually in the budget. And so that is an average cost per acre foot for all of the water that we've leased out at Wells Ranch.
Mm.
You also have the Wells Ranch 3 that in 2022, we signed a reimbursement agreement. We have done past that. We wouldn't have been able to do these things if we hadn't had those funds.
Right.
And as Humberto said, back in the old Bear Met days, and that's another reason why we have a fixed O&M and a variable O&M, because Bear Met said, we're not taking any water. At the time, they were our largest entity. So guess what that did? It tripled the cost per 1,000 gallons for everybody else.
Mhm.
And that is the purpose of having this fixed O&M and a variable O&M.
I'm with you 100%. One of the things that I think you just highlighted is we cannot spend Canyon Regional money on future projects without contractual underlying contracts. Here's my problem. I'm not a lawyer, but I have a novel legal theory, right? And my novel legal theory is this. When we went out and acquired more leases for Wells Ranch, 3 and the Bloomberg or whatever, Canyon Regional did that on the direction of the Board of Trustees, right? Canyon Regional then invoiced the member entities for those additional leases. The member entities paid. The member entities boards, who by their own bylaws are the only ones that can approve expenditures of funds. And those boards didn't vote on that. They didn't approve the expenditures of those funds. So therefore, we've created a legal issue in that the entities are spending money for something that their board of directors did not approve. The trustees did over here, but the trustee itself does not have the authority of the director, the board of directors of the entity, unless that board of directors have granted that authority for that issue to that individual trustee. So we got to stop that. I mean, we have got to absolutely paper things, and not in a complicated way, before we spend money on them. And the leases is a great example of that, right? I mean, I'm spending, my example, easiest one to give since I know the numbers, right? I'm spending $411,000 a year on leases without a path to a project yet. That to me is a problem, because I'm spending public money on something that I don't have an end state for. And so if you go back and your example, Joan, all the way back to the HPCUA thing, right, where we just covered it, we should have stopped. I wasn't here then, but we should have stopped ourselves from allowing that to happen, but we didn't. I mean, but that's in the past. We're beyond it. We fixed that problem.
But I was just trying to say, if we hadn't had those funds, we wouldn't have been able, and
That is a very valid point, right? But my point is, we cannot just keep building those funds without visibility anymore. I think we've grown to a point where we have to be more sophisticated than that, and really be able to see where the funds are and not create legal problems. I'm saying legal problems, but they're ethical problems in my view for our boards with commitment of funds. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to clarify something. So kind of circling back to where I thought this whole conversation about how things are paid for, entities, they pay money, blah, blah. This $582,000, are folks here opposed to that? Because, I mean, if the costs for keeping employees or doing all this 3%, I mean, that's what it is. And that's a fundamental decision, right? You get what you pay for. So if you don't keep employees happy, this is a niche job in the end. If you don't keep them happy, I mean, I hear there's already grumblings about the change in medical. I mean, is that what is being discussed here, or how to pay for that additional budgeting?
I think it's a great question, right? I am not against paying employees for what they're worth. I am for having the right mix of employees in the right jobs, right? I mean, that's,
But the fact that everything is
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right. That's right.
that was my only.
I'm not opposed to it. What I want to make sure is we're not just adding a whole bunch of extra fluff on top of the budget, because there is about 350,000. Yeah.
But that was the board problem, not the employee.
Yeah. And I don't
So,
have an issue with the individual positions. I think the individual positions are what's driving a lot of that increase in there. So there may be a discussion on, those positions.
I have issues with this.
Yeah.
But I'm a paid member. I pay for this.
That's right.
I paid for this through my budget. I don't think you pay for this. I pay for this. I have concern with this. But that's not what I was going to address right now. I'm going to go back to something that was more pressing, with regards to how we do this. I mean, certainly you're talking about a lot of the past. I think we need to move forward. We need to use the example the GBRA just brought to us, this MOU. It makes it, GBRA. It makes sense for the entity to do some type of MOU.
Yeah.
To start the process moving forward. And I agree with you. But the stuff we did in the past was in the past.
That's right.
And it helped a lot of us. It helped a lot of us. We didn't have money. We can't damn the past. We got to learn from it. Moving forward, MOUs will certainly help the case. Paying for projects ahead of time, understanding what we can budget when we go through the budgeting process, that we're not hit with stuff $360,000 because someone else didn't pick it up, would certainly help me.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to get smarter. That's all I'm going to make, comment I'm going to make.
Yeah.
Can I suggest something without being rude?
Yeah.
That we get back to the budget. We talk
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
future at the next meeting about how we can move this organization
I'm with
forward.
I'm good. It's just a fascinating discussion that we've never had, right? I mean, so, Mike, you got something for
Yeah, I
you?
was gonna say, if we're gonna tackle a big line item in the budget, let's talk about the increase, Joan, from Alliance.
Yes, that's a big increase.
3 million, not 582,000 from employee raises.
Which-
3 million.
Yeah.
Let's go after
Which
that.
one's that one?
But the issue there is those entities.
The
it's not paid by-
alliance, though,
not paid by
is-
any regional.
And even in and out. But I have to show it here because I have to be able to build the CRWA entities that are in the alliance.
But the point is, Umberto, if they're raising it 3 million, even if it's an in and out, it's systemic of the fact that costs are going up. So these other costs
matter.
They,
Yeah.
it's just not that, again, we're yelling about 1% of our budget.
But again, it's an in and out, and we've accounted for that. And we can go back and look at the numbers and, be happy with what we understand where those numbers are coming from. But when it comes to be fiduciary responsible, certainly we have those conversations with the Alliance, which you're probably not aware of. Those conversations with Graham. We talk about the budget. We're part of the budget. Here, I'm part of the budget here. So I will be bringing up those issues with regards to what needs to be paid and what we're concerned with. So certainly it's an in and out again. I'm paying my fair share. Crystal Clear's paying the fair share.
Okay.
Green Valley. It is what it is. And plus I'm getting water. So I'm paying for it. I don't see how that has a bearing on the Canyon Regional budget.
We should probably dig into the, anyway, other than the theoretical discussion, I think we should dig into the what we talked about yesterday and the repair replacement fund that figure is going to go down. Let's talk about that one. Joey,
Yes.
if you want to. That's a big 10 million something dollar thing.
If you'll go to page 40, Michaela. Actually, 41.
41, you said?
Yes, this has a breakdown on it.
Yeah.
And also, I believe the handout was, so I prepared a spreadsheet for fiscal year 2025 and where the repair and replacement balances are, or I predict them to be as of 9/30. And just as a reminder, and for some of you that are new and don't know this, the repair and replacement fund was created a few years ago for emergencies. It was a few years ago. It took me a while to try to get it to work. But it was set up for emergencies. Just everybody contributed based upon their plant contracts. And that's how we collected it. There was no specific item. So money then was going in the fund. We did have some emergencies that had to come out of that fund. And then there were specific items that was like, we want to see what big item you're going to replace. We want to see this. We want to see that. So it took away from this repair and replacement emergency fund. And now we're identifying big items again. A lot of, when you look at this page up here, there's the Keeley construction, what's still due on the strainer project in the back for Lake Dunlap. We budgeted some for the ground storage tank repair costs. We've now since found out that's going to cost more. So this is to add to that cost. Under Wells Ranch, we have $3.8 million for the generator project to fix that. Some items that deferred yesterday, the Lake Dunlap membrane expansion, that's going to come out. And also the $600,000 for the Bloomberg project and the 1.8 for the Wells Ranch 3. As we discussed yesterday, even Lake Dunlap, if you're not going to be a participant in the expansion, you shouldn't have to pay that. So we're going to remove those. But I'm sorry, now let me get back to my little spiel here. On this sheet right here, this is what the projection is as of 9/30. And as you can see,
It's this one.
for Mid-Cities, Wells Ranch, and Hayes Caldwell, there's not going to be much left in there. It's on the handout.
So this is telling us what, Joan? This is like what you got right now.
This is what I project will be as of 9/30,
Yeah.
September 30th.
Yeah.
I still have remaining funds coming in from the entities that I bill out, the expenses that I expect to still pay out.
Yeah.
And the biggest and the most that has the most is Lake Dunlap.
Yeah.
But for all four of these projects, there's only 3.6.
But are you assuming that you don't take any money in for the budget? You're just showing us.
No,
you spent
I am
something.
showing this is what I projected to be as of 9:30.
So October 1st, we will start out with this amount in each one of these accounts. We will be adding to those accounts these amounts here. I think what Joan is saying is,
Okay.
just so y'all understand with the fiscal year 26 budget, if we do all these projects and they cost exactly what we think they cost, when we end and we don't have any emergencies during the year, when we end next year, the most we can expect to have in mid-cities is 385,000. I think she's just kind of ringing the alarm bell a little bit here on, are these balances going to be enough cushion for intra-year emergencies that were unplanned? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And another thought on it.
I'm struggling. No, you did fine. I'm just struggling. It's me. Not you.
And so this is exactly what the committee charges, right? The budget committee developing these policies. The trustees need to say, what are we comfortable with having as reserve in these accounts for an emergency well failure?
Yeah.
That we didn't expect to happen. It's $1.4 million at Wells Ranch.
Yeah.
You know, we luckily had some money here to take care of it, but next year we have 254,000.
Yeah.
What is that balance? And we need to develop that. And it probably is going to have to be a board of managers up discussion. The board of managers discusses, what do we think is an appropriate number? And we make that recommendation. So the budget committee has that information to set in a policy. And we always say the 3 months of reserve, 4 months of reserve, that's not a written policy anywhere. That's just the budget committee saying, well, we want 4 months this time, we want 3 months this time. Those need to be policies that are
They
set
do
by the
need to be
trustees.
policies. Because there is nothing in our, we don't have anything in our bond covenants that say we have to have a specific amount.
Yeah.
The only thing our
Three months, find the most of these things in 3 months.
And that's what we did in the past, is we offset some of those costs by reducing our from 4 to 3. Exactly.
Can I ask a really dumb question? Does it have to be by project though?
Yes.
Must it always have to be by project?
Okay. Are you talking about for the repair and replacement fund?
What's that?
You're talking about for the repair and replacement,
Well, yeah, I'm talking about like,
this project here.
yeah, repair and replacement fund. Yeah, does it have to be by?
Okay,
project?
so this changed in 2025.
Mhm.
I don't know.
2024.
No. It changed in our 2025 budget on how it was billed to the entities.
Mhm.
It was billed to the entities by project because I don't have my 2024 budget in front of me.
Right.
But, okay, this is what it's gonna cost for Lake Dunlap. We're only gonna bill the Lake Dunlap entities for that.
Mhm.
In prior years, and yes, I'm going back.
Mhm.
Say we decided, okay, we're gonna put $1 million in the repair and replacement fund. It was allocated based upon the total plant acre feet for everyone. It wasn't,
That-
it was a proration, kind of like what I do for the administrative costs.
And same with Jeff.
The problem again becomes you have a contract for a facility. Like, are you paying for Hayes Caldwell? Is Hayes Caldwell supposed to pay for the Wells Ranch generator?
Okay,
That's
but
the
I do
challenge.
keep track of that.
Yeah, you have it
I
here.
do have it here. So even though out of this $1 million, Lake Dunlop is this 1%, yes, that percentage is allocated to Lake Dunlop.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, once we fix the contracts, I mean, at least the facilities that are tied together, we can commingle because it makes a ton more sense. But
Oh,
we got to
yeah.
live within the
Which
confines
it
of
also
living
was set
today.
up because it was new at the time.
Yeah.
And, okay, if we would have collected this money and say we had a major occurrence and it happened at Hayes Caldwell, we would take that money.
Yeah.
And pay for that at Hayes Caldwell. And that was Keenan Regional working together.
Yeah, I would have no problems with that. Because, I mean, I'm just trying to think through, I know it's the way we do it. We're not gonna fix it this time, but I mean, you know.
But the whole
Yeah.
point on this is getting away from, is there a suggestion to put something in addition to just these specific items in repair and replacement?
Well, and there is, and that's one thing I wanted to point out to everybody. We're still developing a number. Mr. Gibbs suggested we go back the last 3 to 5 years and see what we've spent on actual, emergencies or unforeseen expenses and come up with an average. And you'll see that reflected at the next budget committee meeting.
But I also thought you're going to develop a CIP plan, right? And that kind of helps for the probably next budget.
Yes,
So
sir.
I think your idea of going back or whatever kind of helps because you're going to need some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
There
just
you
feel
will
like
see a spreadsheet with a, I don't know if we'll call it a CIP or what, but yeah.
No, but that'll be
CIP
like,
plan.
that'll
Yeah.
be a pre-CIP where you invest energy and time to develop
Yes, sir.
an asset, what we have as far as dates and what needs to be repaired and start,
Yes, sir.
which is, then you figure how you're going to fund that.
I think where we can help in this short, really, really tight time span is maybe providing something to the budget committee saying, hey, can we get, another 115,000 into mid cities, 140 into Hayes Caldwell, 250 into Wells Ranch, get those balances where at least we've got 500,000 sitting there for emergencies. It's not some number like 2 million a project that, we could call maybe arbitrary, but it's not so much that any of us are going to look at it and say, well, why do you need that? I think we all understand that having $500,000 in Wells Ranch for an emergency probably is a reasonable amount of
Probably a
money.
good thing.
I can get behind that.
Probably a
I'd
good
rather
thing.
pay for that than people.
And let that fund build back up again. And actually, if we hadn't had this fund, we wouldn't have been able to actually even execute the contracts that we have
Yeah.
for the generator project.
Well, I get, so what will we do? So basically recommend set levels for each one of the projects, huh?
I think
And
just
repair,
for
replace.
this budget, let's say
Yeah.
we know that by the end of this year, mid-city's only gonna have 385,000. Let's suggest to the budget committee, put another 115,000 in repair and replacement for mid-cities to get it up to 500,000. Do the same for Wells Ranch, do the same for Hayes Caldwell. That way we just have something. Lake Dunlap's good. We got 2.6 million in there. We're probably okay for today. Terry's going to develop a comprehensive plan that I think will come through the board of managers where we can look at that and then we can determine what should that level be. Because 500,000 is not enough at Wells Ranch, but we don't know what that number is without more information. Once we have that information, that number may need to be $2 million. It needs to be sitting in there at all times for emergency repairs. But at least for today, maybe we can suggest to the budget committee, let's get these numbers up to where these three are at 500,000. So we've got a little bit of wiggle room.
So based off the balances that she's got on this one?
Yeah, so mid cities will need to go up to, 115, and it doesn't have to be by pennies, right? Just
No.
another 115,000 repair and replacement for mid cities, another 250,000 in Wells Ranch, and
Yeah, I
then
see that.
140 for Hayes Caldwell. And just get those balances up to just 500,000. So we've got that little bit of cushion, but it's not such a high arbitrary number where everyone's kind of looking at it like, well, why do you need $2 million? How are you going to support that? Because we just don't have the information in front of us.
And so this would technically be, that's basically like emergency funds, right?
Yeah, you would put it in here is contingency emergency funds, something like that, as a line item in this part of the budget under mid-cities, Wells Ranch, and Hayes Caldwell.
Contingency funds, yeah.
Yeah. And we
Okay.
can explain that to the budget committee. We want to just see you have about $500,000 in here for these projects for emergencies. I mean, one tech stop project will build mid-cities.
Now, remember too, like TechStot, some of those funds that we've expended are going to come back.
Yeah.
Eventually.
We just
But-
set up a direct deposit this week. with
Eventually.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just one voice here. I just think that for us with this budget, I think that's the feedback that we can provide that'll be beneficial to Canyon Regional and their staff. It's unfortunately a little bit of an arbitrary number, but I think it's a number within reason for minimum balances for at least this year, while we go back and draft much better information to guide us for the year after.
There's a ton of policy things that need to happen, right? I mean, to enable it.
I would support that, Brandon. I think that's just good common sense there. I don't know. It's under replacement in my mind, but yesterday we got a sheet from Joan about trucks and the age of your trucks. And if something really needs to be replaced, you ought to see the age. We got trucks out here that have 250,000 miles on them, and they're almost 20-year-old trucks. And, I think we need to be thinking
We
about
have
setting
good
aside
operators.
money.
They take care of we have good operators. They
Look,
take care of their vehicles.
I'm old and I don't take care of myself, so I have a bad frame of reference. But I think we need, in the same vein, we need maybe set some money aside for rotating out and replacing some trucks.
Yeah. why wouldn't you ask the trustees then, for a non-construction capital purchase? Why would that not be a list? Why don't we provide it? I'll provide a list, non-construction capital procurements to ask for my board to approve. We could do something similar here and you could put 2 trucks on it, right?
It's actually included in operations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in there, but it's actual capital. I mean,
How much is it,
capitalized.
Joan? Because I mean, I could see that you should be, I'm looking at mileage, you got 150,000, 139,000, 146,000 miles, 154,000, 233,000. Oh, here's one that's only got 3,800. That goes to, fine, but I mean, I'm counting 4, 5 trucks that probably could be rotated out. 2013, 2007.
Okay. so the
2003.
2007, that just, if you look at the number of miles on it, it wasn't driven a whole lot and it's still being used. The guys still use it. I believe the 2016 was going to be traded in on the one for mid cities.
It's fine. What's going to happen is it's going to break and then you're going to come to us for an emergency.
Yeah.
Need of money. I just think set up where you every year rotate 1 or 2 trucks out.
Great suggestion, Mike. And that's what I envision this board doing.
Right.
Part of the committee charges is working on the operations side. And early in the year, I think that this board of managers should be looking at this assets. Staff comes with the recommendation. Here's this truck. Here's how old it is. We think it's ready to be replaced. We need to put this money aside. Board of managers said, we concur. And then board of managers is shifting that information to the budget committee. And the budget committee doesn't have spend any time thinking about trucks because the people who deal with trucks every day in their daily job have made that recommendation to them. That's how this stuff should flow. And that's how we're trying to get it to. But great suggestion.
Here. I totally agree. Anyway, okay, so, all right, Joan, where do you want to go from here? I mean,
I think that's about,
I think we go back to the recommendation. Do we all agree that it should be set, or someone should communicate with the budget committee, that it should be set at $500,000 for these 3 items?
so
I think that's a good approach.
that's exactly what I wrote down, and I happen to know the budget committee, so I'll communicate with the budget committee that we'll do this for repair and replacement. We'll set it limited at 500K as our recommendation.
Okay.
And that'll be good. Anything else that we need to talk about? I'm mindful of our time. I mean, we're having great discussions. I don't want to cut us off.
I
but
don't
mean,
know that there's anything that left. I mean, there's some line use things. They don't pertain to anybody or everybody, I should say.
Yeah.
The big deal was the operations and maintenance.
Building extension.
The building expansion is, we've got 200,000 in there for under admin. Carrie's looking at getting whatever he's going to do. When we did budget 100,000 for this year that we haven't spent yet, so that would be 300.
So on that topic, is there anything like that the staff is going to recommend, a line item that's out of the ordinary to the trustees that we need to look at? Because I think, speak for myself, I think where I'm at right now, like, on building expansion and those sorts of things, I would rather pause for another year myself, right? For any other any other capital thing that we could potentially wait, because I think we got a lot of policy things and stuff that we're seeing that we need to do. And if we commit to something, another large expenditure, such as a building expansion or something like that, I don't know when taken all together, if it's the right time. That's my opinion. Right, I mean,
Did you not say, Jerry, that you needed portable buildings? You're gonna be like that.
Well, if we don't expand, I need to at least bring in a portable building or a trailer or something. I mean, it'll be a lesser expense, but I don't have any additional room for staff. I mean, it's just, we're stuck.
I kind of agree with Phil. Is there any way to stagger your staffing? Projects haven't come online right now, so I'm assuming you're not going to hire a project manager to when? CFO, I guess I heard yesterday you need a CFO faster. When is that going to happen?
Yeah,
And then, so the other one was, what was the other one? Assistant general manager. Do you need that right away? Carrie's only been here a year. Do we need assistant manager right away? I don't think so. So if we could manage the staff with the timing, and I agree with Phil, we could just push this out with regards to the building.
I guess, I don't know, and I'm trying not to be contrarian whatsoever, right? But I'm a little bit from a show me state, not even though I'm from Texas. I mean, I want to see right? And before we say, yes, let's put, $1 million, whatever, I'm not saying it's $1 million, whatever. I want to see it. I want to be like, okay, this is what this looks like. This is the timeline. And I don't think we've seen it. And so I'm not willing to say, let's go. I mean, so what I've got, and I'm not attacking the staff or anything. I'm saying we have a novel argument, right? That we've not put down on paper yet to convince me that, yes, we spend this now. That's all I'm saying.
So, but my only problem with it is you've got to have the plans. I mean, it's going to take time. You're not going to build a building next year. Even if you started now with your design and stuff, you're not going to expand this building out by next year. If we're saying that, then we're saying that none of those positions even need to be in this budget because we won't even have room for them until fiscal year 27. Right. So that'd be my only concern. I want to make sure we're planning and ready, not necessarily. And I don't think this budget contemplates building a new building. I really think it's just contemplating design. Is that correct or am I wrong?
Well, no, I mean, this would let us at least get started on building the expansion. I mean, it won't be built by the end of the next fiscal year, but this will give us funds to, start that. Or I need a portable building, and yeah, I would like to add these positions as soon as possible. The first primary goal for this new PM before they actually get into managing these additional projects is to bring somebody in that has experience and that can develop an asset management plan. And long term, that's going to save millions of dollars if we can develop an asset management plan. That position will pay for itself by doing that alone. As CFO, we've had discussion pursuant and to the budget committee meeting of actually hiring a controller, not necessarily a CFO. Because really what we need is a controller, but assistant GM will allow me to do my job because right now I still spend a lot of my time focusing on other things aside from general manager's duties.
So I will add, Kerry, based on what you stated, you will still need that building, the temporary building next year if you're bringing everybody on.
Yes, sir.
So you will still need the temporary building.
Yes, sir.
So going back to what Brandon's stating, with regards to design, I understand, but I also hear what Phil's saying. We don't want to get into a situation where this becomes a money pit. We want to know at the end of the day, what is this building going to cost? Right. So I know we have to go through the design phase. We do this at county line. But again, going back to what Phil made yesterday, those comments, he'd rather invest in personnel than buildings. I'd rather do that. But based on what Kerry's saying, staff comes online, there's nowhere to put them. You're still going to have to go get a temporary building. So go get the temporary building. How much is that going to cost?
Yeah, I've come around to that idea that really, and my concern is more about not the next 3 positions, but 5 more after that. Sure. So if you're starting a design and you're not designing the building to be adequately sized for Canyon Regional 10 years down the road, that's not a great idea either. And so I can get behind a temporary building to house people. The temporary building is not even going to be $50,000 other than utilities and stuff. But
I'm just, when it comes to budget time, I just feel like we're a bit arbitrary, right? And what I mean by that is, okay, yes, we know we need fleet, we know we need buildings, we know we need space, we know we need personnel, but I feel like we're a bit arbitrary, and I also know we're rushed, right? I know we're rushed, right? So we're going to jam this thing through because we have no other choice, right? I got it. But I want to be more deliberate. I want to say, like, when I'm buying trucks this year, right? I bought equipment last year. When I buy trucks, when I go to my budget request for my board, I'm going to say, look, these are the trucks I want. These are the purposes I want them. And this is how much they cost. And this work, and I can procure them. And this is where my number came from that's in the budget, right? I'm going to show my board that. I'm going to show my board this, how many people I got, this, how many desks I need, whatever. And I'm going to show them. We're not into that level of detail, right? And that's all I'm saying. We're not into that level of detail. We're in the level of detail to the point where we need to expand because we're hiring more people. Got it. Everyone gets it, right? What's the next level of detail? What's that going to cost? How much are we going to spend on design this year? How much does a portable building cost? That's what I want to say. That's what I want to see before I can legitimately say, hey, I am behind this thing and I want to be behind it, but I just need a little bit more, I guess is my point. Right? I mean, that's it. It's not that I don't support it. I just need a little more. And that's what I would be asking for.
I agree with you there. That could be a recommendation in this group that the building, based on some phases or whatever, give us some more background. Temporary construction, temporary.
You're not going to expand it for 200,000 either.
No.
We won't even have enough.
It was rather arbitrary. You know,
Can the 200,000 be used for the temporary building? Because you're gonna need the design plus the temporary building. Where's the cost for the temporary building? Is it in here?
Hmm.
If it's not in here, it needs to be in here.
Yeah, because we have 100,000 that we still have from this fiscal year that got
Yeah.
not spent at
You know
all.
these numbers.
I do, yeah. I read the budget and I read my documents every day, every month. So yeah, we had 100,000 from last year. So that's 300,000 that staff would have available to them
Yeah.
for architect and for
Mm.
temporary building.
Just don't replace the trucks, we got the money.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Anyway, okay, what else we need to do? We need to wrap this up, guys. I mean, I'm gonna have so much fun, but did we help you at all, Joan? Right? I think the recommendations I'm gonna set to the board, I'll contact the budget committee. I'll say it on Monday night. We do recommend we establish some minimums for repair and replacement, 500K each project. I think that's a good recommendation. I'll probably tell the board, hey, recommend that for some, capital purchase items, building expansion, all these things, we would like to see a plan. We understand it's a requirement. We would like to see a plan, a little further details on what that looks like to put in the budget. Other than that, I think, and I'm going to skip just ahead from the totality of the meeting. I think I'm going to recommend to the board that the staff, pull together who we believe is going to participate so we can give an answer to GBRA, on participation in their project. I think I'm going to say to the board that we want to go ahead and move out with completing the process for short-term leases for raw water for those members that have them. And I think that's it. I think that it's probably we can't accomplish much more today. Yes, sir.
I'm going to hit home again on the salaries. I want to make sure that we're not adding 580 on top of 350 and we need the full 580 or not.
Yes.
And I'm only going to say that again because this is my room for voice. The budget committee, I'm just a
Yeah.
fly on the wall. But
That's
here, I think that we need to just have that
Okay.
looked at.
So say that again. I want to make sure that.
Well, we have about 350,000. It's going to be a surplus this year.
Yeah.
And that's a real,
You said you're sure?
well, we can have staff get that information and give it to the budget committee. The staff will be able to tell us how much is going to be left in that fund. And all I want to make sure is that we're not adding more than we need to on top of what we're already sending out. That's all.
Well, I
And you
think
can-
to say it differently, I think the personnel account is the one account that lends itself most easily to a budget to actual at the end of the year. Most easily. Because we paid for labor, you didn't buy labor with it, right? So that should roll to the next year. If we agree to that, I mean, could we just recommend, hey, budget committee, personnel should be a budget to actual true up at the end of the year. Dollars don't come back to us, but it rolls forward to pay for personnel next year. Or would y'all be okay with that? That's basically what you just said.
For this year, let's work with,
Yeah.
let's let the budget committee work with what that process is going to look like for the next year's budget.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that's a chemical cost is another thing.
Yeah.
We don't have a crystal ball. We're going to have some money left.
That's right.
Potentially or not. because we wanna-
Yeah, roll it forward.
Yeah, exactly. So let staff get the actual number. I want to run out here 350,000. Joan's concerned that that's not the right number. She's going to be able to figure it out.
It's whatever the budget actually
Whatever it
is.
is, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that are we adding too much on top of that?
Yep,
And we're
I
gonna
agree.
end up
I agree.
With $400,000 left over next year for budgets, for salaries.
I agree. Cool.
Carrie, did we include the habitat conservation, cost 54,000? What was it?
Not yet.
It's about, yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah, that won't be in the next fiscal year.
Yeah, I think it's actually not until 27.
All right.
Yeah.
just wanted to-
Remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 27. Yeah, don't forget what screwed up. Okay, any other comments or shots? Okay, I'm gonna get us out of here. Chelsea, okay, one more parting shot. Chelsea.
I don't know if it's a parting shot or not. I had a short presentation today that is time sensitive. So I don't know, Carrie, if you'd like to
Well, let's,
circulate that a different way, but
yeah, we can circulate,
Can you do it email?
it's basically, yeah, we can do it through email and then
Okay.
we'll make a presentation at the Board of Trustees. Yes, sir.
Which one what's it about?
Potentially sending a couple of delegates to Denmark,
Oh.
to, and there's, it would be at no cost to Canyon Regional. And what we were proposing is sending, a staff from Canyon Regional, perhaps one of our operators, and also, a nominee from the Board of Managers.
Okay,
So,
I don't want to go. Okay, Thank you, Jesse.
Great, that's what I
He
needed.
just wants to
Thank
get away from
you.
the boss. Okay, does anybody else have any comments? Hey, I apologize for going everywhere on the agenda, but I think, good discussion, guys. I'm gonna get us out of here. We're out of here. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, y'all have a great one.